There's always more to the news than a headline. We want to discover, to delve a little deeper, to find out what's really going on. Explanation, analysis, the people at the heart of every story. I'm Neil Patterson, and this is the Sky News Daily Podcast. So, by the end, we'll hopefully all understand what's going on in the world just that little better. Available wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello there, watching the press preview, a first look at what is on the front pages. Time then to see what's making the headlines with the Conservative Home's deputy editor, Henry Hill, and the Labour peer and broadcaster, Baroness Hazarika. Lovely to see both of you. So let's take a look, shall we, at the front pages, starting with The Times, which reports that the Chancellor has already told the budget watchdog, the Office for Budget Responsibility, that taxes will go up. The Guardian says the new deputy Labour leader, Lucy Powell, has called on the Chancellor not to break the election pledge of no tax increases in the coming budget. It's also the lead story for tomorrow's Eye, which says the issue has split Labour at the very top. News that Democrats in the US Congress have asked to interview Andrew Mountbatten Windsor as part of their investigation into Jeffrey Epstein is top story for The Sun, with the headline, "Tell us what you know, Windsor." The Metro pictures a grinning William Smith, also known as Billy, handing himself in at Wandsworth Jail after his accidental release, the headline, "Chill Bill." The Bank of England decision to keep the base rate of interest on hold at 4% leads the Financial Times. After a critical report over alleged editorial bias at the BBC, the Telegraph carries calls from former Prime Minister Boris Johnson for the Director General Tim Davie to explain or resign. Another BBC story for the Mail after it was accused of shocking double standards for rebuking a newsreader who corrected the phrase pregnant people to women. So let's get more. Henry, Ayesha are here. Welcome to both of you. We're going to kick off with The Times. Income tax will go up. This is Rachel Reeves apparently telling the watchdog. What exactly does it say?
Well, this is a really interesting story and it's quite a big development because Rachel Reeves has written to the OBR, which is the sort of watchdog of the budget and government spending, kind of putting them on notice, saying that she may have to raise income tax. Now, this doesn't mean
that's the critical bit. It is.
That's the critical bit,
isn't it?
But it doesn't mean 100% she's going to do it. But certainly this would be a big amount of kind of doing your due diligence beforehand, making sure that you're tipping off all the relevant authorities. It's also probably sending another signal to those all-important markets as well. But of course, from a political point of view and a media management point of view, there is probably more kind of hysteria around this than there was about the Traitors finale this evening. This is the big question. I'm not going to say very much. I'll just watch the space. People, it's a big live event. I can't help you. I can't help you. But this is the big question that everyone is. And of course, Rachel Reeves did this press conference a couple of mornings ago, which kind of didn't really say anything until she got pressed by journalists afterwards, where she said, "Look, you know, I can't have the world as I would like it. I have to have the world as I see it now." Then this is all just fueling speculation that income tax is going to go up.
Yeah, exactly. The quote they have in the paper, the Chancellor has informed the Office for Budget Responsibility that a rise in personal taxation is one of the major measures on tax and spending she's preparing to announce this month. Is the cat out of the bag? And if so, how much will it be by?
God, I wish I knew that. I'd make an absolute fortune working for a bank or something. But it's not entirely impossible, as Ayesha says, that this could be a kite-flying exercise or an attempt to move expectations. Rachel Reeves is probably not very happy with the OBR at the moment because it recently announced that it was going to start winding down its largely fictitious productivity growth projections. Basically, ever since the financial crash, it's assumed that in 2 years, and it's always 2 years because it's never now, productivity growth is going to go up to and that gives politicians more money to spend. That money has never arrived. And so it announced it was going to get rid of that, which took away some of her fiscal headroom. So would she be averse to making the OBR do a huge amount of work for absolutely no reason? I mean, it's not impossible. But nonetheless, yes, this is all. If it doesn't happen in this budget, it will happen in a future budget. The basic facts of Britain's fiscal position are really clear. You know, revenue expenditures, which is basically not capital budgets, not projects, but salaries, it's pensions, it's the NHS, it's social care and so on, are going up and up and up and up and up. Labour MPs have revealed that they are not prepared to countenance the smallest of cuts to them. And therefore, the only way to keep the bond markets happy and avoid massive borrowing, and the government has said that it's not going to borrow against those revenue costs, is to raise taxes. Now, the only taxes that raise significant amounts of money are VAT, national insurance and income tax, because they're the ones that everyone pays. They're also the ones that Labour absolutely committed not to raising at the general election. So the government is in a deeply invidious position, but I think that if it has to choose between hiking taxes on everyone or facing down the backbenchers again, it will be tax rises.
And the whole point is you do not raise big revenue from small numbers of people. You've got to go for big numbers of people in the end. And again, we see the suggestion that possibly it's going to be a 2p rise on income tax, a 2p reduction possibly on national insurance, unless you earn above £50,000. Then you won't get that national insurance change. Anyway, what do you think? Is that likely? Would that raise enough money for it not to have to keep going back each year?
Again, I'm not privy to any insider information, so I absolutely don't know what's going to happen. But I just think it would be surprising for something to be trailed and briefed so heavily with such specificity for it not to happen. Let's see. I mean, look, it might be a massive reverse ferret in terms of, everyone's been led up to the top of the hill and then, dinner, it doesn't happen on the day. But, I mean, Henry's absolutely right in terms of his assessment. Those three things are the big levers by which you raise a decent amount of money, and Labour's made it really, really clear about what they're not going to do. I think as well, what is going to be really difficult politically is Rachel Reeves said in some interviews she did after her speech, look, there's the kind of right thing to do politically and there's the right thing to do by the country. And I think she's sort of caught between those two things. I don't think she has any other choice other than to raise income tax, but my goodness, that will come at a big, big political cost. That will be a gift to many of her opponents. I mean, the Conservatives will be quite hard on that, although to be fair, the Conservatives also brought their manifesto commitment on raising national insurance, and they, when they left office, there was a very, very high tax take as well. But this will be difficult in terms of trust in politics. But then, what I pick up from a lot of Labour backbenchers is they are really, really divided on this. There's definitely a group of people who think it will be really, really damaging in terms of low trust in politics to break a manifesto commitment. There's a really, really big part of going into the manifesto. Everyone's dragging up the tweets and the clips and all of that kind of thing. Read my lips, no new taxes, etc., etc. However, there's another group of MPs and indeed, peers where I sit in the House of Lords who are basically, look, these are the facts staring us in the face and something really drastic is going to have to be done. But what Labour, if they are going to do that, is can they make a proper big political argument around it? Some of the criticism has been that actually, since Labour came to office, they haven't really handled their messaging on the economy very well, coming in with a lot of doom and gloom, straight away with the winter fuel allowance cuts. Maybe the time to have done this was when they first sort of came in. And certainly there is an argument the world has changed on defence, on geopolitics. But I think, to be fair to Labour, and it is really, really difficult, the position they're in, when Tony Blair came into power, he had really bad public services, but a growing economy. And when David Cameron, the last, I'd say, stable Prime Minister we'd had in this country, before sort of Keir Starmer, he inherited a very difficult economy after the financial crash, but public services in pretty good shape. What Keir Starmer has inherited is a double whammy of both. So it is difficult, but this will be very tricky if they have to do this.
And in terms of going back to the politics of this, one, could Rachel Reeves really take Labour into the next election based on manifesto promises if she breaks it now? And two, even internally, what does it mean? If we look at The Guardian, the new deputy leader of the Labour Party seems to suggest you need to stick to your manifesto. How hard will it be inside the party for them?
Oh, to take those in turn, history suggests that breaking manifesto commitments does not stop politicians making new manifesto commitments. How seriously the public take those things is another question. So Keir Starmer is already, I think, the least popular Prime Minister on record. So into the next election, yes. Out the other side of it, maybe not. On the other side of it, Lucy Powell is the elected deputy leader of the Labour Party. They have a system whereby the deputy leadership is an independently elected position. She's been elected by the members, and she is the voice of the members. And the members like nice things, and they dislike bad things. And so what Lucy Powell is demanding of the government is that it spends more money, or puts more money in people's pockets, I think is the phrase here, and provides a strong Labour story about how we are rewiring the country in the interest of the many and not the few. Now, the obvious problem with that is the money to do that doesn't exist, and that rewiring is not obviously taking place. But Lucy Powell, having an independent mandate, not having a government brief, being in this weird sort of twilight zone where she is formally, I think, in the cabinet, or at least attending the cabinet.
No, she doesn't attend.
Oh, she doesn't?
She'll attend political cabinet.
Attends political cabinet. So she's like an internal opposition, in a way, which the Conservatives also have, but they don't formalise it in quite the same way. And so this is exactly the problem, because those Labour MPs, Labour has a huge majority in the House of Commons, but this is in terms of seat majorities, this is the most marginal parliament since 1945. There are a lot of Labour MPs in areas that don't normally vote Labour, sitting on very thin majorities. And they are as sensitive to tax rises as they are to spending cuts, because it's their voters. It's the voters who switched, who voted Tory in 2019, probably in 2015 as well, who voted Labour at the last election, who are very sensitive to this kind of thing, so they won't be happy.
Yeah, and just very quickly, we need to get to the FT as well, just very fast as well. Amidst all of this, interest rates kept on hold today at 4%, you know, a close decision, you know, swung effectively by the governor. So the backdrop of rising prices for people out there, with tax takes on top, it needs to be borne in mind by any government, just quickly.
Oh, absolutely. Look, you know, despite all the other stories raging in the papers, which are very important, including immigration and crime, which we'll come on to, the number one issue is the cost of living. And interest rates have come down since this government took office, but they're certainly hoping that interest rates would fall further. And of course, the cost of living will be very much in the minds of political strategists, because this budget is a stepping stone to these really important elections coming in May next year.
Let's go to the Sun, shall we? Tell us what you know, Windsor. How far can Andrew fend off, you know, being called by the Americans, do you think, to give evidence on what he knew about Jeffrey Epstein?
So I'm not entirely au fait with the American system, because I must not have watched enough West Wing. He's been called by Congress, not by some American version of
it's not even that broad. It's the Democrats on the Oversight Committee. So it's quite specific, isn't it?
So I think the first thing to say is that this is a political summons. It's not American prosecutors. It's not the FBI. It's not somebody building a legal case. And politicians, obviously, Andrew's been in the news a lot. You need to take it with a pinch of salt about, you know, it's good for politicians to get in on stories like this. But nonetheless, so he can refuse it. I don't think that the Americans can compel British people to turn up in front of them. It's probably not worth it for him to do it, just looking at it from his point of view, because if he says no, congressional Democrats angry. If he says yes, awful footage, presumably, lots of hideous questions. So I don't imagine this will happen. But yeah, the Americans keen to muscle in on this. They allege that they think that he could have useful information with regards to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. But again, it's a political summons. It doesn't represent American law enforcement making that statement. Yes,
and a hot political issue, obviously, in America right now, the whole Epstein issue.
Well, given the way Prince Andrew has conducted himself so far on this affair, I think it's highly unlikely that he'll be like, do you know, I think I'll do the right thing and, like, get on a plane and have a good chat with people. That's what he should do, because, you know, at the heart of this is, I mean, of course, we're very interested in this in terms of what it means for the royal family, but I had the privilege of interviewing Virginia Giuffre's brother, and it was an absolutely heart-wrenching conversation. And it is victims like Virginia Giuffre and others. You know, this kind of abuse takes a huge toll on these women, and I don't know, maybe young men were involved as well. You know, she ended up taking her own life. I mean, look, if he had any shred of decency, that's what he should do. And in fact, anybody who is a close associate of Jeffrey Epstein, if they want to do the right thing, if they want to absolve themselves of the scandal and the tarnished reputation of being attached to that paedophile, they should go and speak to the victims and speak to the authorities and tell them what they know, because if they haven't done anything wrong, they've got nothing to hide.
Both of you stay there, lots more still to discuss, including another mistaken prisoner released, two in fact, with the Justice Secretary forced to defend his handling of the situation. We will discuss that next.
Our app gives you the very best of Sky News wherever you are. Breaking news, videos, analysis, up at 6%. Podcasts, watching us live.
Joins us live.
All in one place, and all at just the touch of a screen. The Sky News app. Get the full story first.
It's like a football final with only one team on the pitch. This isn't just a call to vote, but a call to remember. The freedom fought for by the African National Congress.
I'm Yusra Al-Bagher, Sky's Africa correspondent based in Johannesburg, South Africa.
A cyclone and two burst dams wiped out hundreds of generational homes.
This was the second dam that the floodwaters hit before it tore into Derna. We are in the heart of Nairobi, and we're watching as protesters were heavily tear gassed.
The sheer fearlessness and persistence of these guys is astonishing.
We help you understand the world with us. I remember going into the iconic Durman market in the heart of Sudan's capital for the first time since the war started. And this is what's left of it. Bullet holes through buildings, shelled balconies, bullet cases on the floor. I witnessed the complete destruction of a place linked to my childhood memories and the lives of millions of people. This is insane. This was a bustling residential area. So many friends who lived here. My most memorable interview was with a 15-year-old boy who'd survived being stranded on a migrant boat on its way from Senegal to the Canary Islands.
After 13 days, our food, water and fuel supply ran out.
I felt awe when we saw the mountain gorillas in Rwanda.
They call him the king of the jungle. This is the alpha silverback.
Sky News, get the full story first. Yusra al-Bagher, Sky News.
I'm Stephen Murphy, and I'm Sky's Ireland correspondent based here in Dublin.
The waters of Ireland and Britain should be home to great white sharks.
If there are great white sharks in this area, there's no reason they wouldn't come here to feed. It's basically a buffet on a beach. This could be not only a record-breaking storm, but potentially the most dangerous storm ever to hit Ireland.
What might happen if Russia attacked the UK?
This is clearly an enormous show of force.
It is definitely out of the ordinary.
We ran a war game with former ministers back in the hot seat.
Ben Wallace.
Amber Rudd.
Jack Straw.
It's the kind of war game that's genuinely tested inside government.
The Russians are signalling that there may be an attack.
Russia knows our weaknesses, but do you? I'm Deborah Haynes. From Sky News and Tortoise, this is The War Game. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Well, welcome back. You're watching the press preview with me once again, Henry Hill and Ayesha Hazarika. Welcome back to both of you. The prisoners' release story, David Lammy calling governors, new plans, data centres, etc. There are so many things wrong, clearly, in the prison service, slightly where to start. But are you confident they're going to get on top of it?
I just think the whole entire criminal justice system is completely broken at the moment. I think every single bit of the criminal justice system, whether you have your house burgled or your shop gets robbed, the police very rarely come. There's not enough police officers. If on the off chance anybody does get charged, then the courts are backed up so much they're not getting, heard till 2029. The prisons are full. The probation services have been cut. The whole thing is just a complete mess from start to finish. Now, whose fault is it? Well, two things can be true at the same time. I think one of and I don't just like going, let's blame the Tories for everything, but I do think when it comes to the criminal justice and law and order, it is absolutely shocking the state that the criminal justice was left in. I think that's one of the reasons Rishi Sunak actually called an early election, because the jails were pretty much full. But Labour did want to be in power, and Labour wanted the gig. And, Labour, and I include myself, when things went wrong in the justice system under the Tories, we were like, look at you. And now Labour is in charge, the party that I'm associated is in charge. And it is terrible. And I think even though the things that people really care about right now, cost of living, NHS, immigration, they're the big ticket issues. I think crime and antisocial behaviour is really rising as an issue. Yeah. I think people up and down the country are absolutely fed up of seeing this broken criminal justice system.
But we can put people in the neck, or some of them anyway at least, but we can't necessarily release them very carefully. The former governor of Belmarsh said to us earlier on Sky News, it's not even analogue. The bit of paper that you write on, we're not even analogue levels, bit of carbon paper. Somebody misreads the time they're supposed to be in jail on a piece of paper because of handwriting. You look at this guy, Chill Bill. It's a fantastic headline, isn't it, for the guy who decided to hand himself back in. Con man Billy Smith, pictured as he returns to Wandsworth Prison earlier today, you know, fag in hand, effectively. One still out there, one of the ones we know who've been released. But, you know, where do we go with this? How do we, you know, stop this happening?
Oh, God, big question. I mean...
Yeah, Henry, what are you going to do about it, Henry?
How do we stop it? I mean, first of all, we managed to have a perfectly functional prison system before computers. So I'm not entirely sure that the analog...
We are still in the world before computers.
Well, exactly. The point is it used to work. I think it's not as if you pen and paper and filing...
Probation staff saying, because you're shortening sentences, you've got to go through tens of thousands of people in jail to see if they need to come out early. So they're already overworked, and now they're doing
that's absolutely true. I'm just saying that that's not really... It's not really an analogue problem. That is a bad government policy problem. Essentially, the Tories did two things that really messed up the prison service, both of them spending related. First, in 2011, as part of austerity, the Justice Department decided to pay off all the most experienced prison officers to retire early, immediately tanking the culture in the prisons. And then in 2016, the government closed a load of perfectly functional prisons for economic reasons, which means that now we don't have enough space.
Same's true of police, by the way.
But at the same time, politicians have not lost their enthusiasm for custodial sentences and sending people to prison. The result of that is that you have massive court backlogs, judges handing out lenient sentences because they know that prisons are busy, and now early release. The only solution to that is either to really lean into non-custodial sentences, which sounds nice, you know, don't send people to prison for shoplifting, until you realise that people in prison for shoplifting have normally committed 70 offences. Right? So the question is, you know, we don't want to send people to prison for low-level crime. Like, well, how many times? Because a small number of persistent offenders do most of the crime. Or you build lots of prisons, and that's what's missing from Labour's programme.
You're talking so much, I'm not going to get to my final story, which is on the front page of the Daily Mail. I'm trying not to look at it. Anyway, Ayesha, sorry.
OK, I'm going to do a spoiler, so if I'm just giving you, like,
no,
5 seconds...
It's on.
All I can say is, what an absolute legend Alan Carr is. Not only is he the funniest, naughtiest campus person ever, what a ruthless so-and-so he is. Honestly, heart of darkness, that man.
Yeah, it's so gone.
He could be in politics. He could be in politics.
Yeah. What a great shot. Anyway, I really apologise to everybody who's watching like me.
I'm really sorry, get with the programme. This is a huge event. This is a huge event. It's going to be bigger than the budget.
Ayesha, Henry, both of you, thanks very much indeed. Top stories coming up next.
I saw police being forceful, pushing young men and women to the ground as they made almost 100 arrests. Will the cold affect your voters?
Well, we have a lot of tremendous support.
What country are you
from? The UK.
Okay, we don't give a crap about your opinion and your reporting. Why don't you go back to your country where you have a major migrant problem?
I'm Martha Kellner and I'm Sky's US correspondent based here in Los Angeles.
There's always more to the news than a headline. We want to discover, to delve a little deeper, to find out what's really going on.